Hello, my name is Louis Jacques.
And I'm Matthew Stewart Jackson.
And welcome to T.A.N.K.
2 actors, no kids.
First show, buddy.
This is the first show. Oh my gosh, I am so excited.
I'm with you. I'm right there. The excitement level is through the roof at this point.
This is great. We've been talking about this. We've been planning. We've been doing this for months. And we're finally recording the first episode, and I couldn't be happier.
For those that are wondering, what is the show about?
That is a very good question. T.A.N.K, 2 actors, no kids. Where is this coming from? This is a brand new podcast about the male perspective of being child-free. And what it means to be a man in the 21st century. We're trying to, flip the script on modern masculinity. Yeah, we're starting a podcast about our decision to be child-free, and that's kind of where we're at.
And also, it's a comedy podcast.
It is a comedy podcast.
And we definitely are not afraid to dive deeper into some conversation and challenging topics that might come up.
Yeah, but we'll always do it in a lighthearted way, and we won't get too serious. So we're so it is primarily a comedy podcast. Yeah.
We are both actors, but not an acting podcast.
Yeah, that is correct. We are also both Christian, but this is not a Christian podcast.
Yes.
But we do want to kind of get those things up front because those things shape our worldview. Like us being actors, us being Christians, our worldview will obviously come out, especially when we start talking about not having kids and both being Christian and like the pressures we feel in our own churches and our own communities of like, oh, you're a Christian and you're married and you don't have kids. What's wrong with you?
What's that about?
Exactly. So much judgment. So we wanted to say these things up front and tell us like where we're coming from. While we are both actors, this show is not about acting or performing. It's primarily a show about being child-free. But it's also a show for everyone. In fact, some of the people we're going to have on as our first guests are parents. And so we want to talk to people who have kids, who don't have kids, people who are deciding whether they want children or not.
Very true.
This show is for everybody. Anybody is free to listen. Just because you have kids doesn't mean like, yeah, don't listen.
Because we'll listen to a lot of child-free podcasts, and most of the podcasts we heard out there were primarily done by women.
That is true.
So we wanted to give a male perspective on, being child-free and kind of being in a situation where we've chosen to not have children.
Correct.
And sometimes that could be frowned upon. Sometimes, where did that come from? But there's never been an inkling for me to ever have a child.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where this came from.
And part of that is that I think women especially get so much more pressure on them as the people who bear the children. Like, well, why are you choosing not to have children? This is so selfish of you. This is so unreasonable. Like you were expected to have children. And I think part of what Louis and I are trying to do is ease the burden a little bit on our women friends who are child free. And it's like, this shouldn't only be a women's only problem. Yeah. Like this is, it takes all of us as a society to talk about this in an open way and to be supportive of each other, whether we decide to have children or not.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
So, now that we've given a little bit of synopsis of the podcast, maybe the people want to know who we are.
Absolutely.
Do you want to start?
Do you want to start collectively or individually?
Individually.
Yes. Louis, tell me about yourself.
So my name is Louis Jacques. I'm originally from Boston. I actually was born in Brooklyn, New York. But I was raised in Boston, so I primarily know Boston.
I moved here from Brooklyn, New York.
See what I'm saying? This is where the connection is from. So lived in Boston most of my life and then moved to LA and lived in LA for about 17 years.
And then you were out there that long.
Yeah, LA was a good chapter of my life. And a lot of things happened in LA. And enjoy LA thoroughly. Now, would I want to go back to LA? Not so much. Now, I miss all my friends in LA. Thoroughly miss. I don't miss the traffic.
Yeah.
I don't miss the earthquakes.
Oh, boy.
And I realized I'm not prepared when an earthquake goes down. I realized that quickly. My wife was out of town, and I was sitting on the couch, and an earthquake happened. Like, it went down. And I sat there and I was like, okay, I'm ready. What am I about to do? And I didn't do anything. You know what I did? I got up and the TV was shaking, so I went and stopped the TV from shaking. And then called my wife and said, yeah, don't depend on me if the earthquake goes down, because I wasn't ready. I thought I was, but I was not ready.
You were not prepared.
So LA 17 years, then now live in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and have been out here now for about 3 years. Okay. And have been enjoying North Carolina. North Carolina is way more quiet and it's more subdued and relaxed, and really getting the feel for what North Carolina has to offer. We actually moved closer here for work.
Did you move here after COVID?
After COVID, yeah.
Yeah.
Moved here after COVID. Actually moved closer because of family as well, because we have family that lives in North Carolina as well. So it's been a plus to be here in North Carolina. You know, as you get older, you want to be closer to family and
100%.
friends. So it's been a plus to be here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I have a similar but different journey.
Okay.
I was born in Washington State and Spokane, lovely town. I miss it a lot.
Okay.
Went to school in Tacoma. That's where I met my wife.
Okay.
And we were not dating at the time, but that's where we met, and the seeds of friendship formed, blossomed into something greater. And then I was living in Seattle for a while after college, and then I moved to South Africa.
Okay.
Because both my parents are South African, and I wanted to live in the place that I'd called a second home, but never really like actually lived there.
That's nice.
Yeah, so I moved there. I only lived there for a year, and then came back and to the States, lived in Seattle for a while, and then started dating Ella, my wife. Okay. We started dating then and did the long distance relationship. Then we both moved to New York City.
Nice.
To give it a go in an arts career. So Ella is a theater administrator. She's on the administrative side. I'm on the performance side. And we did the New York thing for a hot minute. We were there for a good chunk of time. And then Ella got this job down in Fayetteville, North Carolina. We're like, where is that? Like to the point where we were like, we call it like Fayetteville, like Lafayette.
Gotcha.
We're like Fayette, like what, is this like Marquis de Lafayette?
I
like,
totally understand
that. We had
that.
no idea how to pronounce it, and then we moved here. Like, oh, we were so wrong. And so we moved here right before COVID.
Okay.
And so she took this job, had half of a season at her new job at this theater, and then the world shut down.
Yeah.
Like our whole industry collapsed overnight. We were like panicking. It was crazy. It was not a great time.
Wow.
And then things started to get better, and here we are. And so I've been living in Fayetteville since 2019.
Nice.
So yeah.
And 3 things that make you tick.
3 things that make me tick: pizza,
Nice.
for sure. Really, anything with cheese.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I just love cheese so much. So really,
Pizza,
anything cheese.
Cheeseburger.
Yeah. Well, I don't
cheese
eat
omelet.
meat. I don't.
Oh
eat
yeah,
meat,
that is true. Okay.
But I do eat
okay.
eggs, so a cheese
Okay.
omelet, absolutely.
Okay.
My cats make me tick. I am
Nice.
such a cat person. I will be the first to tell you that my cats are the best cats to have ever existed. And I am not biased at all.
Gotcha.
Completely objective opinion.
His cats are very fluffy. I just want to.
They are so fluffy and
very
soft
fluffy.
and amazing and snuggly. And they're the best. And sports.
Oh, nice.
I enjoy playing. I don't watch sports very much anymore.
Okay.
But I enjoy playing soccer, basketball, and tennis on a pretty regular basis.
But you know what to do, like, if sports conversation happens, you know how to, like, get in there and...
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I know enough about current, like, NBA standings.
Gotcha.
The MLS standings and, like, the tennis rankings. Like, I know enough that I can, I won't be completely lost in a conversation.
Gotcha.
But if somebody starts talking to me about, like, F1 racing, I'm like, I'm sorry, you're on your own.
You gotta tap out. You gotta tap out sometimes.
Can we steer this back towards tennis, please? What about you? What are some things that
things that make me tick? I love cooking.
Yes, you do.
One of my passions. I
love
thoroughly
eating cooking.
I thoroughly enjoy cooking, and what I actually enjoy even more about that is involving people into new dishes and kind of new flavors. So that's kind of the thing. We're being here in North Carolina. I feel like a lot of the flavors are pretty similar. I always try to do something different, try to bring something new to the table.
Yeah.
I love playing basketball. I will pretty much at this point die on the court. Like like sun up, sundown, I will play.
Yeah.
And I will go home a bleeding, bloody mess.
Yeah.
But then I go, but I played great.
Yes.
So that's kind of where I am.
Yeah, we've actually played together a couple of times
Yeah.
at church.
Which is fantastic.
I love it.
And I just enjoy entertainment in its full form. So whether it's doing a podcast or it's acting, live music and things of that sort, like all that stuff really kind of moves me, and I've been doing it for quite some time. So so I would definitely say that.
That's awesome. Let's talk a little bit about how we actually get together.
For sure.
The collective us.
The people know.
Let the people know. So Lewis and I met doing a show. We were cast together as poker players in The Odd Couple at CFRT, Cape Fear Regional Theater.
Yep.
And we just kind of became friends there. We hung out a little bit. We liked each other good enough. It was like, this is fun. And
we could hang out with this guy.
Yeah, exactly. But I would argue that we really became close during Play That Goes Wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
that was, 2 years after that? A year and a half?
I think it was about a year and a half, yeah.
Yeah. And we got cast together and then in that, and I was just like, oh, this guy is awesome. And that's when we started hanging out outside of rehearsal.
Yeah.
That's when we really became friends.
For sure. For sure.
And then over the holidays, just a couple months ago, I called Lewis out of the blue and I was like, hey, I just went for a run and I didn't listen to music or anything. I didn't listen to my podcast. I was just running and thinking, and all of a sudden this idea came into my head and I was like, I want to start a podcast with you. What do you say?
And who am I to say no? Funny enough, we both have done other podcasts, so it was a familiar place.
Yeah.
But we've never done it together. So I think bringing in our different personalities, bringing in our different senses of humor, was just a great way to kind of connect as we built our friendships. So I thought that it was a brilliant idea, and I wasn't going to deny my good friend Matthew
Aw, shucks.
the presence of Lewis. Yeah, had to flip it for myself. So yeah,
100%.
and it was fantastic. Like I didn't really even think about it. I was just like, yeah, let's do this.
100%.
And I thought it worked really well.
And then we were talking about our mutual interests and our mutual journeys about being like cisgendered heterosexual men in monogamous marriages where we do not have kids, and we're both Christian, and the pressures we felt from society, and particularly from Christian society, and we were just kind of bonding over that. And I was like, I would like to start a podcast where we discuss the ins and outs of this, because I started listening to a bunch of child-free podcasts. They're a couple that we can definitely recommend because they are fantastic, but they're all, at least the ones I have found, they're all from the women's perspective. And I was like, in order to hopefully find solidarity with our women friends and our child-free women friends, I want to talk about it from the male perspective.
Yes.
And not, steal anybody's thunder, but at the same time be like, this should be a shared responsibility.
Yep.
The women should not be carrying all of this on their shoulders.
Sure.
This is not like, oh, that's a women's problem. It's like, how can we be supportive and, dutiful husbands and supporting our wives in our mutual decision making? Yeah. And hopefully that, spreads out into the broader community of the child-free community, and really trying to open the conversation, because there's still a lot of stigma and there's still a lot of pressure and negativity around people who are joyfully child-free. It's like, I don't have
you
kids.
can't be child-free and joyful, I'll tell you that.
Exactly. It's like, I have no kids and it's great. And people are like, oh, that's so you don't like kids. There's just so much stigma, and there's so much blowback, especially on the internet, about people when they decide to celebrate living a life without children. It's like somehow that's morally wrong. Yeah. And I think part of what Lewis and I are trying to do is really change that conversation and really reframe it in a way that's like, well, okay, why? Why do you think it's immoral, or why do you think we should be having children? Here's our perspective.
We chose this, and there's a choice in even having kids. Like there's a lot of responsibility that comes with having a child. If God blessed us with those responsibilities, we would take it on wholeheartedly. I think the decision more was, I enjoy the time I spend with my wife. I enjoy going on vacations. I enjoy not having to go to soccer practices.
Yes.
I enjoy not having to. I enjoy not having to go to some sort of recital or something of that sort. So it's like all these things that you're like, oh, I don't actually have to do that. Now, mind you, we both will attend functions that our friends have, that their kids have. So we're great uncles, we're great friends of those that have children, and it's not an issue. But for ourselves, we decided, this is not a route we want to take or go. And everything in me is okay with that. Like, don't get me wrong, it was a conversation that I had to have with my wife. Her name is Denise. Had to have it with my wife just to make sure we were on the same page. Because in a lot of cases, you'll be in a relationship where one person does and another person doesn't. And how does that work? In this instance, you have to choose one side. Like, I don't want to say someone loses, but, for a lack of a better word, someone does. Someone has to take on and go, no, I either lose the aspect of having a child, or I lose my freedom.
Well, what's
quote unquote.
So interesting in my wife's and my conversations about this, there's going to be grief either way.
Yes.
You're going to grieve the life you had before you had children. Like, I had all this freedom. I could sleep every night. It was amazing. Yeah. Or I will grieve the children I will never have. Yeah. Like the people I never got to meet. For a lot of people who are child-free, they have come to this piece of like, I'm okay with that. I've never created a human, and I'm perfectly fine with that. And so I think it's coming to terms with those, especially if you're in a relationship where the question is open, how you arrive at a peaceful decision.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And so those are some of the things we'll be talking about. But one other thing I wanted to mention was that in Lewis's and my respective marriages, neither of us is the breadwinner. You know, our spouses make more than we do. And if we are not fathers and we are not breadwinners, what does that leave us as men?
Yeah. So we will be discussing masculinity from our perspective.
Yeah.
Not to say that, our word is the only word when it comes to masculinity.
100%.
And we also will get the woman's side of what they feel like masculinity would be. Because it's unfair to be like, I'm a man and this is what masculinity means. When it's just like, as a woman, you're like, nah, let me explain to you what masculinity means.
Yeah.
You want to hear both sides.
It would be like us trying to explain it. Like, this is what a feminine woman should be. It's like, no.
You want to make sure you get everything.
Yeah, so if we take away those two pillars of what it means to be a man, like fatherhood and breadwinning, providing for a family, what does that leave us? Where does that lead us to go as men?
Yeah.
And how do we find fulfillment, and how are we responsible and faithful partners that are supportive and still masculine in a way? But that's kind of why our tagline here is flipping the script on modern masculinity, is because traditional masculinity looked one way and a lot of it became toxic.
Yeah.
And how do we maintain positive masculinity? It's celebrating the things that make us men.
For sure.
And the things that make us men, if we take two of the biggest ones away, fatherhood and breadwinning, what is left to celebrate being a man?
Yeah.
And that's what Lewis and I are really trying to set out to achieve here.
Yeah. And then also, there are other structures and formats to the show that we will bring out. And one of the things we want to talk about is
let's get into the nitty gritty of like how this show will work.
Yeah, we'll have a section called Matt Jack Loves. And Matt can explain a little bit more about it since it's his section.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're like the yin and the yang of the
Yes.
same segment. So mine is called Matt Jack Loves.
Yep.
And Lewis's is called Lewd Vents.
And I will vent, people. I will
I
vent.
can't wait. A Lewis rant is something to behold. And I cannot wait for you guys to hear his first vent, because it is so joyful in his crotchetiness. So basically, it's going to be me celebrating something, choosing a subject where I just get excited about, like whether that's sports or my cats or improv, and why I am passionate about this. And I just explain to Lewis something that I'm passionate about. And on the flip side, Lewis.
Yes, Lewis will vent. And what I mean by vent is I will vent. I will vent about topics that are going on in the world, topics that affect me, whether it be marriage or friends or anything of that sort or whatever, and just, kind of daily things that happen. Let me give you a little taste.
Oh, a little taste.
So
Here we go.
Let me tell you something. Basically, what I'm a vent about is the fact that people, even in regular conversation, believe that you should have a child. And here's the crazy thing about it. They don't know your situation. They don't know what you might be going through. They don't know. Maybe you had a vasectomy. Spoiler alert. That is not the point. What comes out is, what about your legacy? You don't care about your legacy? What I care about is your concern. Why are you so concerned about my kids running around? Your kids, sir. What I'm saying? So these are little things and tidbits that I will vent about.
Yeah.
On not a daily basis. And mind you, they're not all negative. They're all just fun in our new comedy podcast. And just kind of making fun and venting about things that are kind of going on.
Keeping it light. And so I'm going to be providing the ray of sunshine, and Lewis is going to bring me down.
Bring it down.
That's right.
Like a thunderstorm.
We're aiming to do this podcast every week. The first segment is going to be Lewis and myself talking about the topic of that week.
Yep.
We're going to take a little break and do Matt Jack Loves or Lou Vents, where we go off topic and go just 5 to 7 minutes of us either extolling the virtues of something or ranting about the negative aspects of something. We'll go off topic for about 5 minutes, and then we're going to bring it home with a guest to help us get a new perspective on the topic that we've chosen for that month.
And just get an idea of their view on whether it's family, whether it's career, whether it's what parenthood looks like. And even on a more touchy note, what happens if a parent dies and passes on, how are you dealing, or how are they dealing with, being a single parent now? We'll even talk about, those that are empty nesters. So we have a lot of things that are lined up that I think will bring some humor, but then also some education as well.
Absolutely. We're also looking at getting some folks who are quite influential in the child-free community to come talk to us about their journey and why they started their movement and or at least their segment of their movement.
So that's what we'll be talking about. We hope, we don't hope. We know. We know you'll tune in every week to hear just the joy that we bring about this topic and the people that we'll have on. And hey, maybe it'll be you. And on another note, and I'm not going to vent this time, but I will say, if we choose you to be a guest, we need you to be prepared. We need you to be ready to talk about what you're going to talk about. We're not going to blindside anyone. We're not going to just be like, hey, talk about dice. Like, that's not going to happen. We're going to talk about the topic, and you'll be prepared beforehand.
Yeah. So we are very excited to be bringing this to you, child-free, and hopefully hearing from you guys about either your struggles and joys about being child-free, or on the flip side of that, like about parenthood and the struggles and joys you have in that journey.
Oh, because we know their struggles. We know their struggles.
As Lewis had said before, that we both of us are quite involved in a lot of children's lives.
Yeah, so very much so.
We're both uncles. We are also very involved in the community. I, for instance, do Best Christmas Pageant Ever at Cape Fear Regional Theater, which has 4 casts of 40 children.
That's a lot of kids.
It's a lot of kids. So, in fact, a couple of years ago, they started calling me Matt Dad, which I absolutely love, which is great. I love that nickname. And so, like, I've talked with several of those parents of the children who were in that show, and I told them that, like, if I had my own kids, I would not be able to be available for your children in the way that I am. Yeah. And so I nanny often. I'll babysit. I will pick up kids from school, and I wouldn't be able to do that if I had my own. So part of what we're looking to do is just talk about our own journeys and the kids in our lives who mean so much to us, and how we can give more to them because we don't have any of our own.
Definitely. And we also know that your kids are your kids. And we want you to know that. We know that. So we're going to reiterate that many times. Come get your kids. But I say this. I say this because I remember it was Father's Day. I decided to text a friend and say, Happy Father's Day. And he's like, oh, Happy Father's Day to me. And I'm like, I'm not a father. He said, I have kids, you have kids. Let me explain something to you. You have kids, you have kids. Like, it's just, I will be there, but don't put your kids on me.
Like, I'm not their dad.
These are your kids. So it's fun. That's kind of funny. But I'm excited about this podcast, and I know everyone else will be as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us on this adventure, and we look forward to hearing from you guys. Please like and subscribe.
For sure.
It really helps boost our numbers so that people can find us.
Definitely.
And we're all slaves to the algorithm, people. And so if you share it, if you leave a review, if you enjoy what you hear, please share it, and let's spread the joy.
Yeah, definitely. So signing out, my name is Louis Schock.
My name is Matthew Stewart Jackson.
And this is the T.A.N.K. Podcast.